What's up, everybody? It's Zach, and I just want to very quickly, while my dinner is cooking here, to be giving a little short review about Willy's Wonderland. Now, I watched this a few days earlier, and maybe you guys hadn't really seen the trailers of it, but me, I was kind of lucky enough. mm, I'm gonna go with that word anyways. Lucky enough to actually see the trailers. And from the trailers, I could make out it was some kind of Five Nights at Freddy's based movie, except it wasn't exactly Five Nights at Freddy's. It wasn't based in the exact same universe or world, whatever, of where that it was an animatronic bear, but instead of the bear being, Freddy, it was a weasel named Willy, an animatronic weasel named Willy, and all of his buddies and whatnot. But yes, that's what I could get from the premise of it, anyways. And of course, from the trailers, you could make out it was just going to be this one very quiet guy played by Nicolas Cage, who was going to be assigned to clean up the inside of the restaurant. And eventually he was going to have to end up fighting off all the animatronic, all the animatronics that come to life, anyways. Now, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. There's not anything really particularly special about the plot. Like, they give, these, sort of flashbacks, these exposition bits of where they explain the past and what led the restaurant, or the party place, whatever you want to call it, the wannabe white trash Chuck E. Cheese, to be what it is, the haunted house that it is, right then in the movie at that time period. But what are the cons that I could say about this movie? I have to say that the cons would be that it is kind of cheesy in some parts, almost, it isn't particularly too cheesy, but some other people I could imagine very easily thinking that it was too cheesy and too B-movie-ish, which that's what you get when you watch this movie, some very B-movie type vibes. And the ending, I thought that the ending, there could have been a little bit more, and the action, it could be very clunky at times. And some of the camera work for it and everything else for that matter was subpar at times. I mean, sometimes the camera work would be like A grade, but for about half the time the camera work was kind of shoddy. Like the cameraman did not know exactly what they were doing. But anyway, I guess those were the most when it comes to cons. But characters, particularly, and dialogue, particularly at the beginning of the movie, the dialogue was witty and fun to watch. Going more and more towards the end, it got a little bit less witty, but that's not a huge downer. I think that the production team was just running to a little bit of a slowing sputter. A slowing sputter as you get further and further into watching this movie. But I gotta say that I kind of liked Nicolas Cage's character. It was out of the typical mold of, what Nicolas Cage typically plays as. Which he always plays as this zany, over-the-top. He's crazy in this movie, but in his normal roles, he is this zany, over-the-top, crazy guy who goes on some crazy wackadoo rants, whereas here he doesn't talk at all. So I guess that's what's supposed to be the uniqueness about Nicolas Cage's role in this movie, is that he never talks, not once. There's some groans and whatnot that he gives off, but nothing much really. And I guess this is a little bit of getting a little bit into spoiler territory, but not really. Is that there are these drinks that he consistently drinks throughout the movie, and he has to do it on a timed basis. At first when I saw in the trailer that he cracks open a can of some kind of drink and he drinks it, I thought he was just cracking open a beer, just a plain old beer or something. But then going later and later on into the movie, you notice the timer that he is on for drinking those drinks, and if he doesn't take his drinks, something will happen to him that isn't revealed to be that isn't revealed exactly. But it turns out to be some kind of punch soda sort of thing. I don't know exactly what you would call it. But nonetheless, they did not go revealing as to what would happen if he ended up missing one of his soda, one of his soda doses or whatever. I wish they really did show that. But I can only theorize that maybe he drinks that soda so as to stave off some sort of sociopathic or psychopathic tendency that he has inwardly that would cause him to lash out at innocent people. So he drinks that just so that he could like control his psychopathy or whatever you could say about it, and like funnel it into attacking predators, which like the animatronic characters like Weasel and all the other haunted animatronic villains and whatnot. Just as an example. Overall, his character is pretty cool. Also, the one main girl, I cannot remember exactly what her name is. The one 18 or 19-year-old Latina lady. Like, they give a little bit of a bad backstory for her, and she's a bit of a badass in her own right. But, yeah, I don't think there is much more that you can say about this movie. The sheriff... The sheriff... ultimately, in the end, is a bit of a scumbag herself, but you almost get, I don't know, there's almost some kind of sympathy that you get from her. I mean, keep in mind that sacrificing people, which that is basically, again, spoiler alert, But you go to finding out in the movie that she goes offering all these sacrifices, all these human sacrifices to Weasel and the other animatronics. And so, I mean, obviously, that's wrong. Human sacrifices, do not do it. But you could almost like parallel her situation with some other situation that is a whole lot milder than human sacrifices. Like, have to do this one immorality to prevent a greater immorality or something like that. Like, it's pretty fucked up in the end, but all the same. They tried to play her off as a somewhat sympathetic character. I don't think that they, successfully did some sympathetic arc for the sheriff. I mean, she ain't gonna be a sympathizable villain in the same way that, say, Thanos is. Or empathizable, I guess that's a more appropriate word. They're not officially like pulling it off in the same way that the what are they called? The something brothers. Anyway, the makers of Infinity War, of how that they were able to pull off Thanos. But anyway, I think that's all I gotta say. I gotta stir my potatoes and get on with making my dinner. But what would I have to say about the movie? I'd probably give it a solid 5 or 6 out of 10. I cannot quite make up my mind. I'll go ahead and say 6 out of 10. Just me personally. It's some dumb fun. It's gritty. It's witty at sometimes. It's kind of campy. And yeah, if you are not too picky about your movies and you got an hour and 45 minutes to spare, you might find it worth your watch, especially if you're a fan of B-movie, intense thriller horror type movies. And especially if you're like a big fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, you might get somewhat of a kick out of this as well. But yeah, 5 or 6 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I will say that. But anyway, that's my review of Willy's Wonderland, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.